The right of the people to keep and wear orange shall not be infringed. Welcome to the Cuse Militia Podcast with those two unapologetically biased orange-blooded homers, Sean and Joe. Give us a like on Facebook at Cuse Militia Podcast and follow on Twitter at Cuse Militia.
All right, what's up, Cuse Nation? Thanks for tuning in to the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. If you like it, please share it with your friends and family. Much appreciated. And if you could, please subscribe and review in the iTunes store. That would be awesome. That is how the cream rises to the top, so to speak, as far as the podverse goes. Getting those reviews helps us get recognized when someone's actually looking for a Syracuse sports podcast. We can rise to the top of that. So, Joe, what's up, brother?
Yes, sir. What's going on, man? Long time no see.
Yeah, right. So Joe was here. Joe was here Saturday. He came up.
Yeah.
And
came up for a day.
Yeah, came up for the day. We were gonna actually do an episode, but it probably would have been entertaining, but I don't know about. I don't know how much sports there were to talk about. That was actually the first night of the Boehem's Army. We watched that game together, and we would have done something on that afterwards. But, time got away.
Yeah.
Also, they played the next day, and
right.
We cleared out the adult beverage fridge. So, there's pretty much nothing left. So it was probably not the best idea to podcast. No. Although, like I said, it probably could have been entertaining. So, with two games down at Boehem's Army, they are headed to the Super 16. You can't say the Sweet 16 and make money off of it. You can't.
It's trademarked, huh?
Yeah. You can't put those two words together and make money off of it. So these stats here are through two games. John Gillen with 44 points. Combined 75% from behind the arc. Demetrius Nichols 32 points combined through the two games, 66% from behind the arc, but he did have the game winner in the second game. The rest of the team during that second game against Team Fancy were 0-10 from behind the arc, just atrocious. But
Gillen was a big part of that ending too. So
yes, he was, but
those two seem to be like the main guys right now.
Yeah, they just couldn't get the three ball going. As a team from the line, Boehem's Army is 81.8%. Gillen did hit the two in a row at the end of the first game against South Jamaica Kings. He by himself is shooting 85% from the line. Through the two games, the team shot 45.3% from the field, and they are holding opponents to 35.8% so far. And finally, Boehem's Army out-rebounded 72-68 with 50-42 on the defensive boards. Orenziano Waku leads with 14 rebounds, followed by D-Nick and his 12. So, much reminiscent.
Thought that'd be a little better, but
I thought it would be too, but are you talking about Orenze or Nichols?
Just
in
the
general?
rebounds overall.
Yeah. Because
I feel like we're
huge.
like more of a bigger team than most teams out there. A lot of teams are guard oriented that I've seen so far. So
well, you've got. I don't know if it affects these guys that much, but Orenze was he was added pretty late. I mean, like 2 days, 3 days before. Well, actually, I guess it was a Tuesday. 4 or 5 days before.
Something like that. Hopefully this week will help them out,
Yeah, exactly. So they've got a week off, and we'll get into that next game at the end of this. But you could tell they're SU players. You know how you can tell that they're SU players besides the fact that they're SU players? They struggle offensively to start the games, and it just has that typical Syracuse feel to it. And
that's what Brandon was saying. Yeah.
And the defense is good, right? I mean, the defense is...
Well, you're holding the teams to 30-something% and you're shooting 45, then I'd say yeah.
Yeah, right? So, and it's just... I think it's great, man. I mean, what more could you ask for in the summer? Really. This Boehem's Army, this TBT, this thing's going to get bigger and bigger. And if you noticed, too... We were talking, I think, in the last episode about the jerseys selling out, how quick they sold out. Well, they're sold out. They're sold out in a couple of sizes again. So as this thing goes in Boehem's Army, probably, let's be honest, they're probably one of the most popular teams.
Right. I mean, well, and they're a number one seed, and also on top of that, a lot of recognizable players, and we have a lot of fans all over the place, so that kind of helps, And obviously, it's getting bigger because in 3 years, right? It was in Brooklyn, but in 3 years, it's gone. The pot has gone from $1 million to $2 million, so it's definitely making money.
Ticket sales were up this year to last year.
Yeah, so it's getting bigger and bigger. I'd like for it to get as big enough one day to where they could make it to where it was an alumni based teams only. So teams couldn't stack teams. But hey, it is what it is.
An alumni thing that would be cool. You could still stack your team. You just can't
No, but that's we're one of the only teams that basically only has our alumni. There's some teams that'll have most of their alumni, but they'll sprinkle a couple players in and out. And then there's other teams like Overseas Elite and the team that we're about to play, Armored Athlete, where they have guys from all over, different colleges and stuff like that. So just the fact that we can get enough good players from our previous teams and our, alumni and stuff that we can actually make a team that can compete is pretty cool to me. It's definitely pretty cool.
I was really excited about Paul Harris, but I got to say, I'm not sure if I was more excited or easily excited about AO coming in. And, it's just been so long since we've got to watch either one of them play. But
he'll pick it up.
Yeah, he'll pick it up. He missed a couple of things up close, easy stuff, but he'll be good. Demetrius Nichols looks like he's in his prime. No one even thought twice about him in hitting that shot to end the game against Team Fancy, which is a horrible name for a basketball team, by the way.
Absolutely, and they did. Go ahead.
I don't know. I don't know the history behind the Team Fancy name. But I don't know. I'd rethink that one. But, yeah, everybody had 100% faith in him hitting that shot. And as soon as it left his hands, you could see it was good.
Yeah, and I think Syracuse.com had an article talking about how, Team Fancy knew it too. There's a guy always up there. The point of playing defense against Demetrius Nichols is to make sure he didn't get open shots.
Right.
He did end up going 3 for 4, I believe, from the 3-point line.
Yep. He was the only
that one was the biggest one. Only guy on our team that hit a 3, right? But yeah, it's nerve-wracking sometimes. Like you said, it's just like it has a feel to Syracuse. It's a normal Syracuse team because, you look forward to this tournament. And even the beginning of the first game on Saturday, we were kind of like, then they pulled away and made it easy. But, I was on pins and needles the whole time, the second game. So, but yeah, you just don't want to see your team lose because honestly, if your team loses, then are you really going to watch the rest of this tournament? It's not that big yet. So,
do you think? No, right? Yeah, exactly. It's not. And if they lost, I wouldn't. If they lost, we wouldn't even be talking about it.
So you want it to go another weekend, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. It's like the first 3 weeks right before training camp for football. So
right, this is probably our last big. Well, unless they win. If they win, we got to keep going, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
So, what do you think about John Gillen? Maybe swapping John Gillen for Devendorf, or would you not mess with the starting lineup?
I would keep the starting lineup the way that it is. They don't have a lot of guys. Everyone's going to get minutes. So
right. They're very equally spread too. Very equally.
Yeah, spread. And in the past they had bigger teams as far as more players, and there was other players that maybe had some egos that demanded more minutes. So I think that this is the first team since this tournament started where you got legit guys that were pretty much right there on the NBA cusp that decided that they could make a better living overseas, and some of them played in the D League for a long time, but I don't see a lot of egos out there, and they're going to basically do what Ryan Blackwell tells them to do so that they can win. That's it.
Yeah, and
so I'd keep it the way that it is, man.
John Gillen came over as a grad transfer. And he's technically in his third year playing for a Syracuse basketball team.
Yeah, yeah, technically, yes.
Technically.
But I'll tell you what, it might have only been 1 year, but as far as any Syracuse basketball fans, I know we didn't make the NCAA tournament, but some of those games, like, the NC State game that I always, talk about that I was at,
the Duke game.
Where he scored 40-something, and then the Duke game where he hit that shot. he solidified his
orange.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Andrew White probably was the better player, but I think John Gillen solidified his orangedom more than him that year.
Yeah. Just
based off of the things that he did. I mean, we wouldn't have beat NC State if it wasn't for him. We wouldn't have beat Duke if it wasn't for him. So
do you remember watching? I mean, maybe you didn't feel like this, but I always felt like watching John Gillen drive the lane was always so risky and so I was so uneasy about it all the time. But
oh god, dude.
When he played for the Orange. And like the past 2 years,
you can go back and listen to the podcast because almost every single game you were talking about it, and my dad was too, and I had to listen to it. So, what are you doing? Why are you driving?
Exactly, and that's how it was. But now, when I see him do it, when I've seen him do it during the TBT, I'm just like, oh, he's either going to draw a foul or he's going to make this shot because he just doesn't. He doesn't put himself in the situation.
And he's playing against better players.
Yeah, exactly. So. All right.
Like I told you on Saturday, I'm surprised that he didn't get picked up for a summer league contract because at the end of the year last year in the G League for the NBA, he played really, really well. So
I think I saw
that was very surprising to me
on Syracuse.com, or I can't remember where it was actually. No,
it was somewhere, but I think he's playing with a chip on his shoulder. That's for sure.
Yeah, one of the Syracuse outlets was. It was an open message to NBA scouts, basically, get to Atlanta and watch John Gillen. So, all right, yeah, it's fun to watch. I can't wait. The next game, Saturday, July 28th at 1 o'clock, Boeheim's Army 1 seed versus 4 seed armored athlete on ESPN this time, so you don't have to take out and open up that crappy ESPN app and try to stream the damn game. So
bad.
It's so horrible. I tried 4 different devices, and I finally, just gave up and stuck with the living room TV. But so Joe, you did a little homework on Armored Athlete.
A little bit.
Well, what'd you come up with?
Armored Athlete's the 4 seed in this Northeast region, and obviously, like I said before, we're the 1 seed. First round, they beat number 13 seed DC on point. 85-69. Really didn't have too much trouble. Shot the 3-ball pretty well. And the second round, they beat number 5 seeded Cuse Nation, 75-73, and that's a predominantly Iona-based team.
Oh, okay.
And Iona has actually brought out some pretty good players in the past. But it was 75-73, close game. And with that ending, the Elam ending that they've been doing, probably was a pretty exciting game.
Tell us about, just real quick, because before we forget, the formula for the Elam ending.
Yes.
Is 4 minutes our first stoppage after.
Yep.
Add 7 points to the lead, to whoever's leading the game. At 7 points, and that's your target score, and then boom, that's what you go for.
Right. Pretty much, yeah. Last round, what it was, we were up 53. The other team was up 52. Team Fancy was up 52.
Right.
So the ball stoppage was a little under 4 minutes, like 3-something. And so they go to TV timeout automatically. And we had 53 points, so we were leading. So 7 plus that 53 is 60. So that's that target winning score. So now it's 53-52. The first team to get to 60 with no time limit is the winner. And that's pretty much how it goes with every single game. You just add those 7 points to that leading team, and that's the target winning score that you play to. Game doesn't end until a team gets there. So,
right, okay. So
going back to this Armored Athlete team, there are 4 main players that play the most minutes. Julian Gamble out of Miami, Marcus Thornton out of William and Mary, Tarico White from Mississippi, and Jordan Hulls, who was a point guard at Indiana. Those are the guys that have been basically playing the most minutes. And from what I've seen, it's they shoot a lot of threes, man. Marcus Thornton and Tarico White are going to shoot up some threes. And the first game, they made a lot of them. Second game, they missed a lot of them. So that's why it was probably a close game. That's pretty much all. I mean, those are some predominant names that I remember those guys actually playing in college, and some pretty good players, some borderline NBA players there. So they definitely are going to be a problem, just like Team Fancy. And I think once you get to this point, like you just said earlier, as the cream rises to the top, it's for $2 million, and you know which teams are hungry and which teams are playing for that money. So
yeah,
it's going to be a dogfight. And again, it's for $2 million, and you got some grown ass men out there that do not play in the NBA and do not have NBA contracts that are trying to make a little extra money for them and their families. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
and it's going to be a fight.
and just for the record, we lost. Overseas Elite has they've never lost. Okay,
never lost in the tournament.
They've never lost in the tournament. They're dominating. Their last game was a 10-point win, and their game before that was a 16-point win. And they are in our region on this bracket. So,
yep.
The Final Four, we lost against Overseas Elite last year in the Final Four. And if we made it to the Final Four, we would face them again, likely, if they win too. So
yeah. You can just hope that, our chemistry gets a little bit better and we can get through this this next weekend and get to that point, Again, we're hungry. Overseas Elite, they look at this tournament as a paycheck basically at this point, and at some point someone's going to knock them off. So, I mean, why not us,
Right, exactly.
So let's just keep it going, man.
All right, Boeheim's Army once again this Saturday, July 28th, 1 o'clock on ESPN versus Armored Elite.
Let's go.
All right. ACC Media Day happened, since we've left for football. And Joe had me pull some audio from that. So do you just want to jump right into this audio? Do you want to preface anything? What's up? Well, no, let's do this. Yeah, let's do this. Before we start, let's see the what do you call it? Let's see. The ACC preseason media poll came out. As far as I know, it came out today, and everybody voted. And everybody.
I think it was a couple days ago.
Was it a couple days ago? Okay.
Yeah. Either way.
Either way, they voted Syracuse to finish last in the Atlantic Division, and they actually got the the least amount of votes in the ACC overall. So with 232, the next worst team predicted is Virginia Cavaliers at 257. So, Joe. What's up with these preseason polls? This is the second one that I've seen is just awful.
There's no love, bro.
There's no love. Why not? I mean,
because people don't look at it. You got people. You got journalists and reporters and stuff down south that just don't look at Syracuse as a team, and I don't think they look at a lot of the reasons why. They just think that it's going to stay continually the same. So, and we have been though. And that's the thing. So I don't doubt them for doing that, because unless you really take a good, nice internal look at what has happened and what is happening with our depth and stuff like that, then you're really just going to expect the same, So I don't fault them. It's just they have no reason to.
Well, someone's got to be last too, right? I mean,
exactly. Someone's got to be last, and because of what all the other teams in our side of the conference has done in our division. I can see why they did what they did. Doesn't mean I have to agree with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I'm okay with it. It's kind of around the same idea when come basketball season and they're trying to rank the Orange in the top 10. I hate it. Yeah. You set the bar high.
Could be motivation.
Right. Exactly. And you set the bar high, and there's. I feel like I know how to gauge it and what to expect pretty good, but a lot of people get really upset if those expectations aren't met. So. All right, well, so Media Day came. Joe had me pull the best audio. This first cut here is of Eric Dungy. Here it is.
Eric, to see, like you said, the last two seasons, 4-8, there were some positives, a win over Virginia Tech and Clemson. How do you build off of that and just what you can say about staying the process? And from the outside looking in, it's 4-8, but from the inside looking out, what do you see?
Coach brought up something interesting last year. I didn't even really realize it, but in Miami last year, I think the year before they were just right on the hump, in these games. And I think that's what we were like last year. We had one possession here and there that could have really changed the outlook on our season. So it's just learning how to win and playing against the best schools and the best teams You're not going to get better playing against, lower competition. So you want to be the best, you got to play against the best. So I'm looking forward to that, and that's what our schedule has been in the past 3 years. So, I think personally it's given us a lot of experience, and for that I'm looking forward to going into the next year.
All right. I mean, great points. I think he sounds motivated. I think it's a redemption year for Dungey to try to come out and stay healthy and, finish out the second half of the season as far as the way he's thinking of it. And he's right,
That's the most important part, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Is just staying healthy. Let me give you this. I did a little bit of research. Okay. All right, just to kind of give a little bit of the Dungey effect of, and it's not spectacular, okay. But just kind of to give you a little.
You do have a theory though, the Dungey effect.
It's not.
You're working
theory.
that.
It's just. It's not. It's not. It's not a theory. It's just facts. It's just the truth about when Dungey is healthy. The past 2 years since he's been with Dino Babers.
Right. So we'll call it the Dungey theory. Go ahead.
It's not really that, but basically 2016, he played till week 8. Week 8, he got hurt. At that point, he was 4-4. We had a game home against NC State that was winnable after that game, a game at Pitt that ended up being 61-76, ridiculous. That was a winnable game if we would have had him. Without him that year, we went 0-4, obviously, with Mahoney. Fast forward to 2017, we went 4-5 when Dungey was playing and healthy, and we went 0-3 without him. So overall, we're last 2 years we're 0-7 without Dungey, and we're 8-9 with him. Now, the past 2 years with him, he has the only game that we've lost to a team that hasn't made a bowl game is Notre Dame in 2016, and that was a neutral game at MetLife. And another thing is that he's never lost to a team twice.
Really?
Yeah. Now, we've lost to Louisville twice, a couple other teams twice, but that was with Mahoney. As far as the games that Dungey has played, the 9 losses that he's had the last 2 years with Babers, he has not lost to the same team. And if you go through it, I mean, you can go through, and if you really, really look at it, first year, I think in week 2 or week 3 of the first season of Dino Babers' offense, they lose at home to Louisville with Lamar Jackson. Next week, the very next week, they lose at home to South Florida with Quentin Flowers, who was on a South Florida team that went 11-2 or overall that year, and Quentin Flowers broke multiple quarterback records. The next game that they lost that season was the Notre Dame game, followed by, and the last game that he played in that season was the game at Wake Forest, which was the Hurricane game. So that was just his first year with Babers, and there's a little bit of explanation. The team, the schedule was kind of tough, but first season, different system, everything was good. And everyone knows what happened last year. Middle Tennessee State, definitely a game we could have won. We lost by 7. Scott Schaefer effect or factor, if you want to call that, whatever. But even the other ones, at LSU, we lost by 9. At NC State, lost by 8.
It was a good game.
At Miami, who was ranked number 8, lost by 8. The game, his final game of the season, where he broke his foot in the first quarter, we lost at Florida State by 3. Yeah. So those are the games that you're looking at that we lost with Eric Dungey healthy. Now you're talking about a team that's got a better offensive line and a deeper offensive line. We're more experienced on both lines, actually, offense and defensive line. We're more experienced in the secondary. Obviously, Eric Dungey is his senior year, and then we have the running backs who are experienced. And for once in Eric Dungey's career, we've actually have a legitimate backup. So when you really look at our team, when Eric Dungey's healthy and what's been going on, and considering the competition that we've played and only losing to one game or one team the last 2 years with Dungey that hadn't made a bowl game, I think it's pretty clear that when Eric Dungey is healthy and playing, that we have a chance to beat anybody any week.
Yeah. I mean,
so,
yeah.
And that's kind of my, that's some of the stuff that I found that I threw out there.
I would agree. That's good research, by the way.
So,
Joe.
Yeah, that's my I'm all in on Eric Dungey. He doesn't want to lose. He's not a loser. He knows what they said.
That's right.
we've beaten the Virginia Tech. We won the Virginia Tech game 2016. We won the Clemson game 2017. And now this year he's focused on making it a full season and just not making it about one key win, but making it about a whole season. So
right. And go ahead.
He's not looking at just 6 wins to get into a bowl game. And I'm telling you right now, neither is the rest of the team. We've gotten experience. And just like he said in that clip, that they just need to learn how to win. And last year against Clemson, they did. And then they almost did against Miami. And then they almost did against Florida State when he had a broken foot. And then his season was over. And that was 3 weeks in a row.
Right.
Clemson at home, at Miami, at Florida State, boom, boom, boom. And we were in every single one of those games. We were in the LSU game down in Baton Rouge. So we just don't get the respect, and people don't want to look at just something that I found in 20 minutes and look at some research to see the facts. So that's my little spiel about Eric Dungey and what's going to go on this season.
Okay, well, Coach mentions he piggybacks on what Dungey was just saying, but he mentioned something that Dungey said too, which is along the lines of what you're saying.
It's just to my left here in the first row.
Coach, Eric had brought up consistently good, not occasionally great. Just
right there. Consistently good, not occasionally great. And
right.
And here we go. Here's Coach.
It's what you can say about going into year 3, knowing that you have some of those wins that you can build off success-wise, but trying to build that consistency, what you see out of the team moving forward.
I think Eric is exactly right. You're looking, we had some close losses last year. And what we've got to do, I think we've got to mirror the season that NC State had. NC State had some close wins last year that really set them off to one of the better seasons that they've had with Coach Dorn, and my hat's off to him. When you're taking over a losing football team and trying to change it to a winning football team, there comes that time when you reach that bridge where all of a sudden, 1 minute you're not in games, and then the next minute you're in games, and they're close games, and you can't be satisfied. You can't settle for just being close, and I don't think that we settled last year, but I think that was the bridge that we were on. So we've been close, and now it's time to get over the hump and get on the other side of that bridge and find a way to win those games and finish out the season.
Well, there you go. I think that's going to be that right there. What he ended with is going to be the theme this year, is to finish the close games, not just have us sit here on a podcast and be like, well, last year against Florida State, what a hell of a game. He's playing with a broken foot. Only lost by 3. There's no moral, no moral victories, and it's time to, kick it into gear and, get over the hump, like Coach just said, and finish these games off. And not only, like you were saying, not only make a bowl game at 6-6, but shock the hell out of
the world. And as he said in another quote that Eric Dungey had earlier in that, and that's kind of what I was talking about. It wasn't really to say the woulda, coulda, shoulda, or we were this close. It's to put to perspective in the fact that the first year with a new system, you got to look at that, and then you have to look at the teams and what they did last year and how close we were to beating some. One possession away. I was at the NC State game. We saw what he did at Miami, Florida State. We beat Clemson. LSU. Saturday night game on ESPN2. Like, we saw that. Everyone saw that. But it's about the fact that we are right there, and it's about turning the corner. And I think that this year, with the experience and the guys like that that we have, and the fact that we have depth, that's another huge thing. Almost everybody in this league, when we're playing against them, they have depth. If we hurt somebody, they got somebody that can step up and go and fill in. So maybe not as good, but other teams have had better depth. If our depth can catch up, and with this new rule with being able to play up to 4 games and players still be able to redshirt, then I think that really could be,
it's an advantage to teams like ours,
pushing us over the hump. Yes, exactly. So and the fact, like I said, the games are won, especially if you talk to a lot of experts in any type of football, any level of football, the games are pretty much won in the trenches between offense and defensive line. So, and I think that we're very strong there this year. So, and with Eric Dungey coming for revenge for his senior year, I think that it's that, like you said, I think that the shock the world thing isn't just a fairy tale.
Right, and you talked about beefing up the lines. Coach talked about beefing up that offensive line.
That's the way you feel when you have an offensive line and a defensive line. Our offensive line is the best I've had since we've been there. And they are real big people that are like strong, real strong. So like when you walk down the street, you want to walk with those guys, okay? And not only do we have 5 of them that are really good, but I think we can go to 7, 8, which we're as deep as we've been there. Not as deep as other football teams in the conference, but it gives us an opportunity to play a little big ball, or what I call, pull up your boots, roll up your shirt sleeves, put your thing in your shirt sleeve and get after some people. And it gives us an opportunity to be more physical than we've been in the past. It gives us an opportunity maybe to run the ball better than we have in the past. And if we have an opportunity to run the ball and move people around, we can help that defense out a little bit. And we can shorten some of those games. And when you get in the red zone, if you have the ability to run the football in the red zone and not just throw the ball in the red zone, you have a higher percentage of scoring points, which gives you an opportunity to maybe get away from some people.
So there you go. Now, if
how can you not love that?
Right, because here's the first thing I think of, and it goes back to what we were just talking about Dungy. It takes a load off of Dungy having to put himself into situations where he's got to scramble and take hits, and the dude, he's not a slider, okay? If he was a slider, he'd already be sliding, right? Is that fair to
I'm
say?
pretty sure he's like a high jumper or a high kneer in the helmet.
We were the first ones that I heard just straight calling the dude a warrior. I mean, he's a freaking warrior, dude. So
you think he's gonna slide, and you're gonna catch a knee to the chin, and that's like
exactly.
Ask a couple Miami defenders from last year. So.
Yeah, you could catch a knee to the chin standing straight up in a 6'2" frame. So.
Yep. Or if you dive, he'll just jump over you. So.
Right.
He's gonna try something.
So
he's not gonna slide. He's not a baseball player.
Exactly. When Coach talks about there, he's got that beefy offensive line. If everybody can stay healthy there, fingers crossed, prayers and all that, if they can do that and they can run the ball more and they can be effective running the ball, then, you open up, the sky's
Pandora's
the limit.
Box.
Yeah, the sky's the limit.
And then you don't have to call, you don't have to call basic run plays for the quarterback like they have in the past couple of years,
Yes.
And I mean, to take back, there has
risky,
been times,
man.
I mean, there has been times when Dungy has slid, to be safe. But if it's a one-on-one against the D-back,
and it's third down,
or you need some yardage, I mean, it's all the guy knows what's going on, so he knows that he's got to tone it back a little bit, and he did beef up. He knows that he has to be there for his teammates, and that's definitely something that he talked about again at ACC Day, where he knows that. That first down might not be as important as the last 4 games of the season. So, and that's tough. It's tough to put it out of your head like that because you don't think like that when you're in the moment and you're that competitive and aggressive. But, hopefully he can kind of get that. And hopefully, like we said, that offensive line can do that and actually be able to run effectively to be able to take the pressure off the pass game because I know the receivers are going to need it too because we still need to see some receivers step up. And Dungy in the ACC media day, again, he had some quotes talking about how he thinks that somebody eventually will because the targets and the catches got to go to somebody. But just having that, I mean, I looked at the depth chart that they opened up, and Aaron Roberts last year, I don't know if you remember, he was a redshirt junior. He was supposed to be our best offensive lineman. He got a season-ending injury. I don't know if it was in training camp or spring ball or something like that. And now he has come, he's come back. He's had all year to do, physical therapy and recover. And they're talking about how he's in a position. He's in a battle for a position spot. And to me, that just is crazy, and it actually tells you how far our offensive line has gone in just 1 year. So I'm pumped. I'm pumped about it again. And again, I mean, we got camp starting August 2nd, and I really can't wait to get into some of these position previews for this team, offense and defense, and start getting some of these daily news from these summer practices and starting to get into some of these previews of these games and stuff. So I'm pumped.
Yeah, so we got probably, another week or two before we'll do it, but we are going to do 2 more episodes that we had planned coming up, an offensive roster preview and a defensive roster preview. So we wanted to obviously wait till it got closer and we could see more of what's going on. But
I mean, we could probably pull one next week since you got the 2 games this weekend.
I'll be out of town. Actually, wait a second. Yeah, I'll be out of town.
Okay. But either way,
we'll figure something out.
We'll probably try to get one in before camp starts, so we can hit up the what happened with Boeheim's Army and start getting into the previews. So
right. So we'll figure it out, but we'll be back and to do our normal thing, and then before you know it, it'll be full swing football season. So
and then that'll go right into basketball and.
Yep, and we got the overlap too. So get ready.
Yes, sir.
We'll be coming out with regular episodes here pretty soon. So before you know it.
Yes, sir.
All right, so that's it. If you could please subscribe, please rate the podcast. We would really appreciate that on iTunes. So that is all for Joe. I am Sean. We're out. Later.
Peace.
This has been the Cuse Militia Podcast with Sean and Joe. Be heard. Contact us on Facebook at Cuse Militia Podcast and tweet at us using #CuseMilitia.